Hello and what is going on today, guys? Tom Cat here, and welcome back to Need for Speed Heat for another episode of our little playthrough of the storyline. Now, we're back in our BMW E30, and we are equipping the nitrous that we have fought so hard to acquire these past couple of episodes. And in this video, we're going to do a little bit of customization. We don't really have a ton of money right now in the game because this is, like I said, our story playthrough, but we're going to be doing what we can to make our little E30 M3 look the way we want. So going through the wheel selection list, I did find some actually really quick that I really liked. And normally I would have put something else, something like BBS or something a little bit more Euro style on this car. But I ended up really liking a particular set of wheels. And, well, I ended up almost doing a different set of wheels. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of wanted to go a bit more classic. I don't know. I was bouncing back and forth on a couple of different wheel sets, but the BBSs, the mesh BBSs, ended up standing out to me. And I mean, it comes with mesh BBSs on its own anyway, but I ended up going with these instead because they looked a little bit better to me. They looked a little bit more motorsporty to me. Now, tire-wise, I was flipping through the tire options a little bit, and then I was like, I'm not really all that interested in the tire options. So headlight-wise, I kind of did the yellow headlight thing because I wanted to be a little bit more. It's almost got that, like, Euro race car look. And then I went all the way to the end, and I realized that they had, like, these little mesh intakes on the inside headlights as an option. And I was like, whoo, I'll take those. Now, you could do that little, like, it's almost... Is it even an angry eye lip? I don't even know if it is or not, like an angry eye lip over the headlights. It kind of looks like it, but at the same time, it kind of doesn't. We did a DTM Fiberworks hood, and I don't remember if we did their bumper or not. We did not. Okay, so DTM Fiberworks has some really nice parts for this car. Going through the wing options, you can see we have some OEM Plus options. We have like a Pandem Rocket Bunny option. We also have some crazy options from like Big Country Labs that stick way up and just, you know, the angle of attack is ridiculously unrealistic, but you know what? I mean, if you're building like a drift car, I understand where that angle of attack isn't really going to mean all that much to you. You just want a wing that looks as insanely crazy as you possibly can. I didn't black the tails out because I kind of felt like blacking out the tails was a little bit, like, almost a little bit, like, counterproductive to the look I was going for with the car. I wanted it to be red. That's the other thing, is I kind of had a very simple idea of what I wanted this car to be, and I was like, I want a red E30. That's what it's going to be, and I'm getting my red E30. So, ended up with a red E30, and it came out quite nice, actually. It came out really shiny, and that's one of the other things that I really dig about this game is that the paints, especially if they're, you know, metallic in shade, they look so shiny. They look so good and so reflective that, like, they almost take on a character of their own. They almost take on a personality of their own. Now, I did go into the wrap editor here a little bit. I didn't want to spend too much time in there because, obviously, I'm not any sort of, like, you know, I'm not any sort of, like, paint god or anything like that, but when you go through these, this sticker list, you'll see a bunch that you recognize. I mean, I saw Speed Academy earlier. Shout out to the guys at Speed Academy. I mean, you see, like, Crowned AR12 in here. There's all sorts of guys that have made it in here, and my stickers have made it in here as well, by way of my TC9700 Gaming and my just TC logo. And usually what I do is I'll just put the TC logo kind of, you know, I'll let it chill on the windshield somewhere, kind of up in the corner, similarly to how I would in real life. Because in real life, generally, if I put a TC sticker on a car in real life, I'll generally put it somewhere that's kind of like, you know, out of the way, kind of in the corner of the windshield or the corner of a window. And it's just kind of like one of those cool ways to sort of brand the car as your own. But, you know, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to spend too much time in the wrap editor in the, you know, just to kind of like, I realized if I spent too much time in there, basically that would be the whole video. And then I decided to go back and look through wings a little bit, and I ended up with that little lip on top of, it's almost like a lip on top of a spoiler, instead of like a big wing of any kind. So, and I ended up really liking that turn down exhaust. The turn down exhaust really goes a long way, in my opinion, to giving it that, like, that almost race car inspired look. And I know that there's going to be some people out there that are going to go, race car inspired? You mean rice? There's nothing wrong with being race car inspired as long as you don't go ridiculously over the top with it. If you've got some race car inspired touches here and there, you're all good in my book. But if you're going, you know, ridiculously wild and over the top and like everything is basically like everything quote unquote looks race car but doesn't perform race car, that's more along the lines of rice in my opinion. So after dialing in the exhaust sound the way I wanted to, and you know, kind of playing around with the alignment a little bit, adding a little bit of front camber and a little bit of rear camber, we ended up with a car that I think is pretty tasteful and I think looks really clean. Now I wanted to go back out into daytime to get some more races done, and that is what we are going to get done right now. Now, as we head back out into daytime, we're actually going to end up jumping into one of the practice races that that Dex had talked about earlier, just to kind of get our skills up, get our name out there a little bit, and also to kind of explore the world. And don't worry, there is more nighttime coming very, very soon. And I do want to say real quick that I really like the kind of aesthetic that they've gone for here with the garage to world transition screen, because it's not really a loading screen per se, it's more of a transition screen. And the reason why I see it more as a transition screen than a loading screen is because even though it's technically loading something in the background, they make the transition quite smooth. Now, throughout the beginning of the game, you will spend a lot of time around this particular area of the map, like right on the outskirts of the city, and then taking the bridges over into the city to compete in races. But what's really interesting is, as you can see, that's another player driving around, and when you're in a world with other players driving around, I know there's people out there that have talked about the game not feeling as alive as they would like, you know, in terms of like people that have been commenting on videos and stuff like that. The interesting thing about that is the fact that, you know, when you see other players driving around, and I was gonna go straight there and I was like, wait a minute, I'm gonna follow this dude. When you see other players driving around, you actually sort of get a lot more automatically feel a lot more invested into the world, because it does make the world feel more alive. So I honestly think that you should kind of hold back on the on the criticism that the world doesn't feel that alive, because as more and more people get their hands on the game later on down the road, the world will fill up with not only, like, you know, not just AI cars obviously, but with players, real players that are roaming around the city. So that, I think, is an important aspect of the game, and I think it's something that's very important for everybody to keep a hold of and pay attention to, because again, the game will feel much more. They're wearing a cop. The game will feel much more alive and like there's more going on when there are more people driving around. So keep that in mind for what you actually think about the game going forward into it later on in the future. Now, I also wanted to take a minute to talk a little bit more about physics, because in the drifting video that I did last night, or that I released last night, if you haven't watched that, you can go back to my channel and watch it. A lot of people were saying that, you know, like, oh my god, the physics, you know, they were either saying, oh wow, these look really different and I want to try it, or oh wow, these look terrible and like it looks like the same thing. Again, I can assure you and guarantee you they are not the same thing, and I missed that billboard like just by a hair. Need a faster car. But I think the thing that a lot of people didn't realize about the drifting video last night was that the drifting video last night involved a car that I had accidentally put a couple of the wrong parts on, and subsequently made it feel a lot snappier. Now, I will be releasing some more drifting footage later on with a drift-built Mustang that you guys will be able to check out, and that you guys will be able to see the difference between a car with all drift parts and mostly drift parts, which the mostly drift parts car was the one I did last night with the Z4, because there were a couple of parts that I had missed on that car, and I did say that as a disclaimer in the video when I was building the car, but some people did not listen to that disclaimer and made wide-sweeping decisions about the physics of the game just based solely off that video. So make sure that you do stick around for the Mustang drift video if you want to come back and see the difference with a car that has entirely drift parts across the board. Now, with all of that out of the way, moving forward into this race. Now, I haven't done a race well, I did do a race in a couple of the previous videos, but the racing has been more of a it's been less of a focus for me in the past couple of videos, and I think that we've focused a little bit more on other things. I do want to focus in on the racing, though, in this video, because when you take a little bit more time to focus on the racing, I think you start to realize that there is a definite flow here for sure, and I think a lot of people will say, I mean, and even I said that yes, there's feelings of, like, you know, past games here. I mean, even across that long sweeper back there, you saw that there were, you know, these little adjustments of oversteer, not just big ones. And that's something that in some of the recent Need for Speed games has been a bit of a point of criticism, is that either you're going straight or you're, you know, massively sideways. And this feels so much more natural. So much more natural. Because you can ask for more angle or less angle or no angle. You can ask to not slide at all. And I think that's something that a lot of people really need to realize about this game, is that the physics have gone in a new direction where the amount of oversteer you want or don't want is very easily adjustable. As you can see on this sweeper, we're adjusting the angle as we go along. It's not a fixed thing. It's not like, okay, now we're drifting and then now we're gripping again. So keep that in mind as you form an opinion about these physics, because yes, you can still feel the Need for Speed DNA in there, but it's become a lot smoother, it's become a lot more inviting, and it's become a lot more in-depth, to where, I mean, yes, you can make mistakes, yes, you can mess up. It's not like it's going to hold your hand through these massive slides at 150 miles an hour. It's going to feel like you need to put some thought into where you place the car. And I think even though these are obviously still arcade racing physics, I think the fact that you need to put some focus into where you place the car is a very important part of what makes this game fun to play, because it is very fun, and it's a very engaging type of fun. It's the type of fun that makes you want to come back and play it more and more and more. I mean, I genuinely wish I had more time with the game than I actually did at the event. So with all of that being said, I think the physics really have gone in an awesome direction here, and I think they've gone in a direction that suits the game very well. So let me know in the comment section below if you have any questions or concerns about the physics, because again, I will try to answer your questions as much as I can, and I will try to answer them as well as I can, because I really want to be able to relay that information back out to you guys, because I want you guys to know. I mean, that's why I went out to this event, so I could bring you guys that info, and I could bring you guys that insight into helping you guys make a decision about the game. So with all of that being said, we are now heading over to a mission with Dex, which you will see in the next video where we follow him to a race. So with all of that being said, make sure you leave me a like. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought of it. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for more, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. See y'all later.